Thank you again, all of you, for coming today. It's a great honor for me to come here and speak today. What I wanted to do was talk about the history. Why are we here today? A beautiful sunny weekend in one of the most beautiful cities in the country on a May Day bank holiday weekend, and we're gathered here. Well, it's very simple. People like you over centuries have given blood, sweat and tears on behalf of working people. And if it wasn't for people like you working hard and making sacrifices, we wouldn't have the bank holidays to celebrate. That's the reality. International Workers' Day, in some countries regarded as Organised Labour Day, has been promoted by the international labour movement for centuries. In Tolpuddle, Dorset, during 1833-1834, there was a proliferation of trade union activity. And a lodge of the Friendly Society of Agricultural Labourers was formed. The result of this is that the then Whig government prosecuted and transported 6 of those farm labourers for a period of 7 years to Australia. On the back of that, perhaps less well known, 250,000 people, we're talking about 1833, 250,000 people signed a petition. 30,000 people marched through the streets of Westminster, 1833. And as a result of their pressure, the decision of the court was overturned and those people were returned to the UK. Unite and other trade unions will always progressively look to support workers in strife, in their endless struggles with their employers and the political elite. We do this through organising, we do this through campaigning, and we do this particularly through our communities. And I'm extremely proud of the fact that Unite has led the way on establishing community membership in the union and re-engaging with communities at all levels and on all campaigns, not just political, but things that matter to people in their communities. Because it was out of communities that trade unions were born, and it was out of the trade unions that the Labour Party was born. And we must never, ever forget that. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights was signed in 1948 to provide a common understanding of what everyone's rights are in the form of the basis for a fair world. And I make no apologies for reading out Article 23. Everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favourable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Everyone without discrimination has the right to equal pay for equal work. Everyone who works has the right to just and favourable remuneration, ensuring for themselves and their families an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Everyone has the right to form and to join trade unions for the protection of their interests. That in no way reflects the United Kingdom of 2019. What an absolute disgrace. What an insult to the former generations who fought in 2 world wars to ensure that those rights were provided. It's an absolute disgrace in the UK in 2019, as has already been alluded to, that people and families are relying on food banks. What an absolute disgrace. It's also important, as has been alluded to remember that there are now approximately 1 million people in insecure employment on 0-hour contracts. Every time governments in this country introduce wishy-washy legislation, you'll guarantee that the establishment will find ways of circumnavigating that legislation. And that's what's happened again. We must never, ever, ever forget that we are effectively at war with people, minus 1% of the total population in reality worldwide, whose self-interest will never allow us to take more than we absolutely fight for and take for ourselves. That's the lesson that we've learned over and over and over again, and that we should never forget. The Tories and the neoliberals in the Labour Party and in the Liberal Democrats, who formed a coalition government that led to the years of austerity, misery, and the many tens of thousands of premature deaths in this country, should never be forgiven for what they've done. And I don't mean to be controversial on the May Day, but we now have a leader in Jeremy Corbyn whose policies agreed by party conference, elected overwhelmingly twice by the membership of Europe's largest political party, is still day in and day out conspired against, backstabbed by people in his own parliamentary Labour Party. That's a disgrace, and that has to end. We need to get back to a society where education for life is free, where healthcare at the point of delivery is free for life. Universal access to social care and dignity for life must be free and available for all citizens, irrespective of their backgrounds. So yes, we're here today to celebrate the achievements of organised labour, and they are many. But as I've referenced, there are many challenges that we face going forward. So towards the end of my speech, I cite two things from somebody who was grossly influential in my life, and somebody I was very proud to call a friend, and somebody I worked with for many years, and that man was Tony Benn. And the two things I'd cite are this. The first thing, in response to those who challenge, how can we possibly afford the things that would democratise and civilise this country, is this. Tony Benn said, if we can find the money to kill people, we can find the money to help people. So we need inclusive, mature conversations about the priority for tomorrow's UK economy. Sustainable, peaceful, progressive and friendly to the environment. And also recognising on the journey those who currently work and have skills in areas of the economy that don't currently tick those boxes. The second is to those who doubt and conspire against the objectives of a democratic, socially driven political Labour Party. I had this fault, and again I cite Tony Benn. There is and will never be a final victory, as there is never a final defeat. There is just the same battle to be fought over and over again. So toughen up, bloody toughen up. And that's where we are today. Stop making excuses. We prostituted ourselves in the 70s and the 80s to get power, and look where it's got us. It got us into illegal wars and adopting the same narrow-minded neoliberal policies that we should never have adopted. So let's secure a Labour government that's worthy of the people of this country and that will provide our young with a future they can look forward to with relish and genuine hope. Thank you.